Hello, welcome to our video. I'm Dr. Sara Ahmed, and this is a video about science. If you have ever wondered what science really is, why it matters, and how scientists actually figure things out, you are in the right place. Today, we are breaking down the big ideas behind science in a way that's easy to understand, no jargon, just clear explanations and real-life examples. Let's start with the basics. What is science? Actually, this is the very important question. Science is a way to understand the world around us. Simple. That's science. It's about asking questions, making observations, and finding answers using evidence. Basically, it's about being curious. Science isn't just a bunch of facts that you memorize in school. It's a process for discovering new things and testing ideas to see if they are true. Think about this. Have you ever noticed your phone battery drains faster when it's cold? And instead of just accepting that, you might get curious. Why does that happen? That curiosity is the starting point of science. Each of the theories and scientific facts was based on such a curious notation or observation. So how did it evolve? How did science evolve? Of course, it's not the result of just overnight. Somebody came up with an epiphany and science was born. No. Science actually was built step by step. Each discovery is a basis for another discovery, and so on, until we reached what we were, where we are now, based on these cumulative, you can say, efforts by different scientists and different. So early humans had to observe their surroundings. They know nothing. There is no knowledge before that. Remember, these are the first humans. They didn't know anything about the world. They are just discovering. Now they are discovering what to eat, what's harmful to them, what's useful, how to hunt, how to do all these things. Okay? Yes, they have these instincts that's imprinted in them to eat, to reproduce, to protect themselves, but they have to learn how to do it. So they started observing what plants are actually useful or will not kill them, and what is harmful to them and they should avoid. That's maybe the beginnings of what science, or how science started to evolve. Okay? As civilizations grew, people like the Greeks and Egyptians started recording their observations and looking for patterns. Now we are more sophisticated. We can actually write down what we know instead of it's a word of mouth getting transmitted from one generation to another or one person to another through just saying. We can record that. And we started having records of scientific observations. At that time, there was nothing called science, but these things were the beginnings, the rudimentary beginnings of science, or how science will evolve later. So fast forward about 500 years ago, scientists actually began using experiments and math to test their ideas. Okay, that's when the scientific method really took off. Today, science is a global effort with people all over the world working together to solve problems and discover new things. It's not confined to scientists anymore. It's not people in the lab. It's more than that. Everybody is a scientist in their own rights. Okay, so what is science trying to explain? Why do we have this science? Why is it important? Science is trying to explain natural phenomena, everything from the tiniest atoms to the biggest galaxies. It helps us understand living things and materials, energy, the earth, and much more, of course. And science also aims to solve problems, like finding cures for diseases and inventing new technologies. All these are based on science and scientific facts. For example, scientists study viruses to figure out how they spread and how to stop them. And I think we all remember what happened during the recent pandemic with the coronavirus, when scientists actually gathered and all efforts were focused on limiting the spread of this virus. And actually, they eventually managed to come up with vaccines that actually controlled the spread of the virus and saved millions of lives. Okay, so this is science at its finest. Okay. That's how we get vaccines for diseases, and we get medications to treat illnesses, and we get engineering to build bridges. All this happens because we have scientific facts that we were able to prove, and that's by using what's called the scientific method. The scientific method started as a rudimentary step-by-step guide to how you go about a theory that you came up with, and you try to prove it, because without this proof, we cannot consider it as a scientific fact. We really have to prove what we theorize, what we observe. We have to prove that it's true, okay? And this starts by asking a question. For example, ask a question saying, why do plants grow towards light? It's an observation. We notice that plants like light, and they grow towards it. They actually sometimes bend to catch a light. Then you go and do some research. You look into possible existing explanations for this phenomena. Okay, what's already known about it. Now, then you make a hypothesis. You come up with theory that suggests the possible answer. For example, if I put a plant near a window, it will grow toward the window. This is a hypothesis. This is something that you think will happen, but you have to prove it before we can believe you in the scientific world, of course. So how do you test this hypothesis and convince us that's true? Design and carry out an experiment. That's how you do it. You have to design an experiment to try to prove your theory. So you put plants in different spots and see what happens. You collect and analyze the data. You come every day, look at your plants, the ones that near a window, the ones that are far from the window, the ones that are exposed to light, every one of your plants, and you write down your observations. Today, plant A did this, plant B did that. These are the data. Every experiment has to have a data. Okay? Then, after you are done collecting your data for the duration of the experiment, then you draw your conclusion and make a decision whether the hypothesis was correct, meaning plants will tend to grow towards the light, or it's not. You didn't find that. Your experiment that you designed did not prove your theory. If it was correct, and you notice that plants look for the light and grow towards it, then your hypothesis is supported. There is support. And we can, in the scientific communities, take it as a fact. Or maybe further studies are needed, but this is a good start. As part of how scientific experiments and theories and everything are concerned, you really need to tell us about it in an organized way. You need to communicate your results. And it's not by creating a YouTube video or something, and then you come up with no. It's through either an article in a journal, better if it would be nice if it's a reputable journal or something, or publish it somehow in a thesis or whatever is considered academically sound and authoritative. Then this is the scientific method. That's how most of the scientific facts actually were created. They go through this process and they get rigorous evidence creation for their whether they are correct or they are invalid. Okay, I want you to think of the scientific method as a recipe for solving mysteries. Each step brings you closer to the answer. You ask a question, you formulate a theory or a hypothesis, you create an experiment to prove whether your hypothesis is correct or not, and you collect data out of that experiment. And of course, even the experiment has rules. You need to abide by these rules. Then you sit down and draw your conclusion out of the data. And after that, whatever comes out, whether your hypothesis was correct or was rejected, you have to tell us about it and communicate your results. And out of these results, people can gain some benefit, okay? Or it should be just an academic luxury. So this is how you should, or every scientific fact goes through. And one additional information about this is that these findings should be reproducible. We should be able to reproduce it again and again to be a fact, okay? Nature has a certain way of behaving every time through specific routes. So if it's a natural thing, it's correct, and it exists in nature, we need to be able to reproduce it, to create another experiment that will prove the same result. And if we are able to do that, then it's a fact that you can take it to the bank. It's clear, it's proven. Okay? Okay. So now, what fields we consider science? What is science? Okay? The fields actually are vast now, but there are three major fields that we consider under the umbrella of science. Out of these three fields came hundreds of branches, basically, by now. So we have the physics, okay? And the physical sciences actually study non-living things. Forces, energy, motion, for example, like why objects fall, how they move, what's electricity, what's magnetism. All this is included in physical sciences. The way I think about it, to get a clear distinction between it and chemistry, for example, chemistry, is that anything that any experience that you can actually catch through your different senses, like hearing, vision, touch, this is included under physical sciences. Okay? Anything that happens within these structures and the matter, basically the things that are related to the matter and its structure and its reactions and how they interact with each other, the different substances, this is chemistry. Things that not necessarily we can appreciate, although sometimes we can, but we need formulas to understand, we need things like that to understand. So physical sciences are the forces that we see and appreciate. Chemical sciences are matter and how it changes Like, for example, let me give you a simple example, why ice melts or why water evaporates, things like that. The other parts of the physical sciences include astronomy, stars, planets, space. The other big part about science is life sciences. And this is self-explanatory, I guess. It's study living things. They study the living things themselves and the environment they live with. So we have plants, animals, and humans, of course. Their study is considered under the life sciences, specifically biology, and where they live and how they interact with this environment around them is called ecology. Okay, both are considered under the umbrella of life sciences. Things are related to living things. Okay, then there is earth sciences, and these are, as I said, each of these sciences now has hundreds of branches, but this is the study of Earth and its processes. Okay, geology, when you study rocks, earthquakes, and other phenomena. Meteorology, this is the weather and the climate and all this. Oceanography, this is oceans and marine life and everything. So these are considered earth sciences. Now, there is a part that I would like everybody to understand about the difference or the different the term applied science. In the different branches of science, people came up with theories, with facts. We kind of gathered enormous amount of information within each branch or each field. But these are theoretical, meaning I know how a certain plant looks like, or and how it does its different functions, how it creates energy from sunlight and carbon dioxide or oxygen. Okay, how it creates or how it sucks water out of the soil and everything. So I know these things. These are scientific facts that are studied or taught under the umbrella of biology or life sciences. But applied sciences take these different rules, different facts from the different sciences and make them useful, make them useful in a way that we can use them in our daily lives and create some knowledge that's practical, that can be applied to our lives. For example, medicine. Medicine is an applied science, okay? Engineering is an applied science. And engineering uses the knowledge that we gain through physics, through earth studies or science, through different things, climate, all this go together and you study engineering. And engineering creates things, builds things, dig wells, do things like that. And this is all based on theories that were created and proven through theoretical science. Okay, medicine is the same. Okay, we study biology. Biology is the basis behind science, behind the medicine, sorry. But in medicine, we have other goals, we have other rules, we have other needs. We need to correct what's wrong. So before you can correct what's wrong, you need to know what's right. Study the human body, study physiology, study anatomy, and know all these things, then start looking for pathology, which is the disease processes. And these pathologies, how can we be able to cure them or create medications and drugs that can help control these processes? This is all based on different sciences. I have biology, I have chemistry, I have physics, I have mathematics. All this is included in the creation of these applied sciences, which is medicine. Okay, and that's the basic, or this is the basis behind a lot of other sciences, computer sciences, different technologies, mechanical engineering, all these things came out of these basic sciences. Okay, now let's make it relatable. If you are into sports, okay, physics can explain how a basketball bounces, and biology can explain how your muscles work when you play. Okay, this understanding is part of an applied sciences. So why is science important? Science makes us make smart decisions. Okay, science helps us make smart decisions every day and form smart, recognize patterns, think clearer. For example, if you read a nutritional label to know why we recycle, for example, it leads to new inventions. For example, your smartphone is one of the newer inventions that really revolutionized the way we live, the way we communicate. Okay? And you know what? I mentioned this scientific method in the setting of scientific studying. If you are a scientist that's studying something or came up with a theory and he wants to prove or she wants to prove this theory. But actually, we can use this same method in our daily life. Okay? And we have another name for it, actually. It's called critical thinking. And instead of making an experiment, that's a lab experiment, you can actually come up with a theory or a hypothesis and go back and read about it. Read about the subject, collect some basic information about it, okay? And then come back and apply it to these hypotheses. See how it goes. You might come up with a new idea to be added to the storage of ideas related to that concept as a result of your scientific thinking or critical thinking. Critical thinking is a process by which you actually critique your own thinking and try to be kind of neutral in the way you look at information. Look for information in reputable areas or sites and examine your own ideology, examine your own thinking. This is critical thinking, okay? And if you looked at areas where science contributed to the concept and to the knowledge in that area and actually accepted the knowledge as facts and refrains from opinions and especially extremist opinions, then you are a scientist and you are thinking like a scientist and you are applying the scientific method to your own life. Try it. It's a very good way to approach the world. Okay, the things that we do commonly is, for example, weather forecasts, which are based on science. You help you decide what to wear. That's science in action. As we go through today's video, keep in mind that science is all about curiosity, discovery, and making sense of the world. Whether you want to understand how your phone works or how the universe began, science gives you the tools to find the answers. Okay? And if you looked at this hierarchy of knowledge in general, scientific knowledge, it starts by curiosity. You observed something, it triggered your curiosity, and you formulated, or it's an observation at that point, because you are the first one to observe it or come up with a hypothesis about it. Then you go and try to test your theory, your hypothesis. Okay? Go through the scientific method. Then you are critically looking into that, analyzing it, coming up with conclusions, and seeing whether your observation or your conclusion matches your hypothesis or your hypothesis is wrong. Okay? And actually, this is how science is affecting or can affect the way you think. You think like a scientist this way. Now, what I recommend, this is just an introduction. It's a simplified version of what science is and what it does and the different branches. I would recommend that each one of you go and look deeper into these things and look deeper into how science is actually shaping or has shaped our lives so far. Thank you. And please join my channel so that I can connect with you through these videos and tell me how I did. This is maybe the first one directed towards you young audiences.